Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, trader. Steve here at Logic FX Trading. Welcome to our daily FX analysis video. What a day, or what a week it's been, guys, from the point of view of stocks. Really, really strange because the actual indexes are, still up at near all-time highs. But my account was battered this week. Battered for me, down 3% this week, which I know is not terrible, guys, but um, it's not good either. But I did go and have a look around eToro, and there's a lot of people complaining. Unfortunately, some people are down 25%, other people down 5%, 5%, 3% on 3 days in a row. So I do tend to trade quite conservatively, and you don't get the big gains when they come. It's a grind, but also, you don't get the big losses the way some guys are out there. It's just a battle, guys. You just do it, you get on with it, and there you go. Now, obviously, currencies are a little bit different to that because you don't get those massive big swings. So at times like this is when you turn to currencies. I managed to accidentally close my the one currency trade I had on yesterday because things were dropping, and I thought, you know what, I just wanted to get some money off the table. So I was clearing everything that was in the green, and before it went into red, and then I looked back and went, oops. I closed my pound Aussie trade there, guys, which was doing quite nicely. So we'll have to have a little look at that again. And it's times like this that you realize there are times that I feel that currency trading's a slog, but then there's other times like this when you get drawdowns on the markets that you think to yourself, you know what, currency trading's nice and steady Eddie, guys. You don't generally get massive moves, and if you do, you usually have your stop losses in place to save yourself. So it's kind of reinvigorated me to keep doing a little bit of currency trading and to continue along the path of doing these little videos every day, guys. Okay, so let's see economic calendar for today. Consumer confidence in the UK come in at minus 14, expected minus 18. So I imagine that's better than that, but obviously negative consumer confidence isn't great. Inflation's got a lot to do with that, and obviously that'll, if people stop spending as much, that'll curtail a little bit of the inflation. Although there are certain things that you just have to spend on, guys. You gotta heat your house, particularly this time of the year, etc. So you've got to get petrol into your car to get to work, etc. But so far as eating out and things like that are concerned, it is getting, expensive. And I've kind of thought to myself, I'll not go out as often as I usually do. So if I'm thinking that, then other people will be thinking that as well. And then just the day before, we had an inflation rate in Japan, no figure. Oh, sorry, figure 0.1%. That's weird, isn't it? Previous 0.2%, no target. 0.1% inflation. Okay, so with that, no big expectation of a hike in interest rates in Japan. There's no pressure on there, guys. So the yen will probably continue to drop. Right, let's get over to the charts. 4 alarms went off in the last 24 hours. New Zealand yen, Swiss yen, I assume that's the yen dropping as expected, or, yeah, in this case, dropping. DXY, there it is there, it's pushed up through that little alarm line we put in. And then pound euro is pushed up through that alarm line. Let's just have a quick look at the charts. This is obviously on 4 hours, so it doesn't look like much of a deal. But now, the one thing we do need to be careful of here, guys, is that when you get something like that, it is quite often that you get a second pull down to give you a zigzag before it goes. I don't know if that's going to happen, but if you're in this, Get your stop to zero just in case it does come down to there, guys. And then when it goes again, you can get back in again from there. Or the other thing you do, depending on your leverage, obviously, you could let it run and then just buy back in until it goes. Because we are expecting the dollar to continue long. US economy's going well. Fed are talking, they're already tapering, and they are talking about a couple of interest rate hikes next year. The only thing is that some of that might already be priced in here, folks. But just looking at this, if this were to turn out to be a an impulse, we could well get a fifth wave on there. We could well get equivalent to that, maybe some sort of zigzag there, and we could well get a fifth wave on up, guys. So I'm not saying that's definitely what's happening, but there is a possibility of that. In other words, we have a 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, 5. Don't know that that's going to happen, but it is something that could possibly happen. So let's keep an eye on it. As you know, I don't tend to trade the index. We look for a currency pair to trade, and this one was the one yesterday we were talking about. Of course, I didn't take it. I got distracted yesterday with the fact that the stock market was, the sectors that I'm in were crashing. And a part of that thing, just a little bit of divergence. Let's just go and look at that, guys, while we're here. NASDAQ. Now, look where the NASDAQ is. And yet my account is down 3.5%. So clearly there's sectors that are pushing the overall chart long, but there are other sectors that if whatever it is that's pushing it long wasn't there, then you would see these are overweighted. Maybe it's your Apples, Googles. I haven't checked. Let's have a look at Google anyway, guys. You see Google's still up there. It's going to open higher today. Apple, I don't have Apple at the minute, but I think Apple's down at the bottom here somewhere, isn't it? No. There's Apple there. See, Apple pushed on up. So those are heavily weighted, and there'll be a few others, maybe Facebook, something like that, guys. That they're what's pushing the index up. And I know we're not supposed to be talking about indexes here, guys, or stocks here, but I just thought I'd throw it in. So despite the fact that the index is pushing up, there's lots of sectors that will have pulled back like that yesterday, guys. Just in case enemies are wondering why that's going up and your account's going short. Okay, let's get back to where we were. So euro dollar pushed out there. That would have been nice to get in there somewhere, and now you're sitting in a position where you're waiting for it to continue to push on down. Pound, that one pulled back. I can't remember what I was saying there, but I do know that what I had been saying. Oh, yeah. It was in case that the dollar pulled back a little bit more here. If this had developed a little bit more, and it could still do, but if that had developed a little bit more, I said that there's a possibility that you would get that. But I did say don't be trying to trade it, guys, because best case scenario, this thing will run flat. And that's a waste of time. And yes, that was a nice move, but it's rebounding again. They'll balance each other out. And if the dollar continues to strengthen and the pound doesn't react to interest rate hike, it will move in that direction rather than that direction. So don't be trying to trade it, guys. Well, I'm not going to trade it. Let's put it that way. Aussie US, we got our alarm going off there. There's the little move. That was a good entry there. And now it's a case of getting your stop to zero if it's moved away far enough away from wherever you got in, and just hoping that this continues to run south. And then if you have your stop to zero, then you're not going to lose any money. Same thing there, guys. There is still the possibility of this pulling back. So if you're not in that, don't be panicking, because it could well pull back up and give us another opportunity there. If you are in it, just put your stop to zero and accept the fact that sometimes you get stopped out. US CAD pushed on up. Yet again, a little bit unsure about this one because of the oil price, but we'll look at the oil price in a minute. This one I wanted to trade long, didn't get in. Got distracted yesterday, guys. Yeah, we were looking for that to break out, which is what's happened. Let's just pull that across there. Yet again, if the dollar continues to correct, you could see this coming back in there and giving this a flat before it goes again. So if you're in it, fantastic. Get your stop to zero, wherever it is. If you're not in it, I would wait to see if you get a pullback. If not, and it pushes on up, then you're going to have to wait for the next one. Yen. Oh, now there's a surprise. What's going on there? It's a nice zigzag. Did I say something about that? I know there was one chart I was looking at, and obviously I'm looking at charts all day long, guys, so I don't always remember what I've said when. But when you see something like that, guys, even if you think trends in that direction, always be very careful trying to trade long edge something like that, because invariably you'll get a zigzag, and then it'll settle itself down, and then you'll start to get the growth. But that is unusual considering that the dollar index has moved long. Let's look at yen. Excuse me, yen. Now that was already in yesterday, wasn't it? Yeah, that little pullback was in yesterday. I still think this is going to continue short, guys. You know, you can look at that whatever way you want, but I do think that in a few weeks' time this will be down there. So I'm going to continue to look for short opportunities on the yen. We'll have to see. I mean, that inflation coming in as low as it did, surely that means that there's no pressure to hike. You know, you're looking, generally speaking, and I don't know specifically about Japan, but generally speaking, developed economies like Japan would be looking for 2%. You know, and then that gives you a good opportunity to grow, and you're looking for 2% growth, maybe 3, but you don't want it going 5 and 6s because then you end up back down, maybe negative again. You're trying to hold it steady. Or we're not trying to hold governments and banks are trying to hold the economy steady, guys. Yes, Swiss. Well, that one's still in this correction. So the time to trade this might be a little bit later on, guys. And it's difficult to get the timing absolutely right. So sometimes, depending on your trading strategy, maybe you get in there, let it run a bit, get in again, and then when it goes, you're in. Gold's holding steady up there. There is a little tapering there, but I'll not call it an ending diagonal because that's not exactly what it is. But wouldn't be surprised if you got a move south before it continued to move long again. And given where inflation is, if you get a continued sell-off of the market, and I know a lot of money's going into crypto, but not everybody believes in crypto that much, and it is very volatile. I bought into some cryptos last week, earlier in this week, guys, and they're already down 15% in a week. Now, I'm not panicking because I know they can go up 15% in a week as well, but it is a whole different trading game to currencies or even stocks, guys. If a stock drops 15% in a week, there's something major wrong, guys. But with cryptocurrencies, it just seems to be the norm. And then you need nerves of steel to ride through it, and then up you go. My attitude towards it is I do think they're here to stay. Some of them will obviously disappear. Other ones seem to be, they're there and they'll be around. And with DeFi, NFTs, and then staking of cryptocurrencies, I genuinely believe that whether it's, and obviously you've got to get in at the right prices, guys. whether it's Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, and there's a few other ones, Polygon, things like that, guys. They're going to be around for a long time, and if you buy them now and you hang on to them, maybe you'll make a profit next week, but maybe it'll be 6 months' time. But I do think you won't lose on them so long as you have the guts to hang on to them. I'm not suggesting there's anything particular you jump into. Obviously, like anything, the profit that you make is determined by the price that you pay. So if you get it at a good price, you'll get a good profit. If you get it at the wrong price, you'll have a lot of pain before you maybe break even and then decide that you're getting out of it. And that's always the difficulty, guys, is that say, this is gold or silver. Let's say I got in there long in silver and I did all of this, you know, and eventually it comes back to there. It's, you know, you're so pleased to get out of that big loss that you take your profit there, or not your profit, you break even, and then 6 months later you come back and it's way up there and you go, why did I get out after going through all that pain? That's one of the psychological things that you gotta rein in. And I do it as well, guys. So I'm not just, you know, talking about any individual. I'm talking about myself, guys. And I don't know what you guys do, but we're all human beings and we all have similar fears, as it were. Bitcoin, there's the drawdown, guys. Look, we had this drawdown a few months ago. This is actually quite steep compared to that. So maybe it tapers off sooner and starts to come back up sooner. Is it possible that it's the start of some big drawdown? I don't think so. There's so many people involved in the market now, guys, that I don't think we'll get another, you know, massive like that where you went from, what was it back then, 2000 down to, well, it's 3000. Hold on, there must be another one of these somewhere. Didn't Bitcoin get to 20,000 and then it came down again? Yeah. Is that it? Yeah, 20,000, not 22,000. Sorry, 20,000, then it came down to 3,000. I thought 2 to 3 was a bit wrong. 20,000 down to 3,000. I mean, obviously that was very painful and it took a long time. That was a year, guys, before it started to climb again. And then from there, it went from 13,000 down to 3,500. And then off it went. But that was a pretty major correction there, guys. And now we've come up there. Can we get another one that would bring it back down to there? I doubt it. I think this is possibly. Now, I don't know, folks, but I'm looking at that structure and I'm thinking, 1, 2, 3, 4, there's a fifth wave in there, possibly. I don't know, so don't be jumping into it because Steve said there's a fifth wave coming. But there certainly is a possibility that we're in a 5-wave impulse, with this being the 4th wave and that possibly being the 3rd wave. Isn't that right? Yeah, with that being the first move up. And no, it doesn't have exactly everything you'd be looking for. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then some sort of sideways movement there. It depends on what time scale you're looking at them on, guys. If you come back out again, that's clearly an impulse. And then over here, that's clearly an impulse. 1, 2, possible 3, 4, maybe not. Running flat, 1, 2, 3, running flat for 4. Nope, that's not working either. 1, 2, 3. Guys, it's not painting by numbers. 4. Sorry, 1, 2, 3. 4th wave. Expanded flat, possibly. And then off you go. Now, I don't trade Bitcoin because it's too damn expensive, guys. But nonetheless, if Bitcoin goes long, you'll find the rest of them will go long as well. And Ethereum, something similar. 1, 2, 3 in a 4th wave. I think there's going to be a fifth wave on it, guys. Oil, let's get out of the daily. Bit of a pullback in oil there. Listen, it's not going to drop to $60 a barrel or something like that. It's come off a little bit. It'll probably pull up, pull back down, and then it'll go, guys. EuroCAD. Yeah, we're looking for that to drop. Potential there. I don't know, maybe it gives you a little pullback there. You could probably get in short there if you fancied it. Euro Oz, not as keen on this one, not as keen on the Oz at the minute, guys. But possibly a drop there down into that level. New Zealand be the same. Possibly a move in that direction. That might be a little running flat there, and then it goes. I'll not be trading it. Euro yen, there's that move in the yen again. Now, what we said here was looking at that structure, it looks like it wants to move long. But when you're in doubt, when you don't have what's the word I'm looking for? When you don't have a fundamental reason to trade something, then don't. I can remember drawing that and then saying, guys, if you wanted to trade the yen short against something, trade it against the dollar. So if we go back to dollar yen, I know dollar yen pulled back yesterday as well. But there's a big difference between what happened there and what happened with the euro. And I do think that this will turn and go. Whereas that euro won't necessarily. And if it does, you're going to have to wait for it to break there and give you some sort of setup to get involved in it. But I just wouldn't touch it. Euro Swiss, well, you see, part of that drop. Do you know what? Is this a movement into safety? Because there's no reason, given that, there's no big reason for the yen to suddenly get stronger yesterday. But there's the Swiss and the yen have both put that in. Let's go back to Swiss against the dollar just to see. It's not as pronounced over there, guys. Let's look at Swiss against the pound and yen against the pound. We'll just look at that. And then yen against the pound. Look at that. Now, luckily, I had my stop loss in the other day, guys, and I got out of that for zero. And then there's the reason why you put stop losses to zero. Because if I hadn't put the stop loss to zero, I would have been quite deep into the red on that. And then hoping that it eventually turns and comes back up again. And often what will happen is it maybe pushes a bit more and then you panic and you get out. And then 3 weeks later, it's back up there. So get your stops to zero. You know, obviously you can't do it too soon or you'll be stopped out every time. But if you get a little bit under your belt, get your stop to zero in case it turns on you guys. And then quickly at the pound Aussie, it flashed. But I got out of it, guys. So probably just as well that I got out of it. Because it would have probably hit the stop loss anyway. So it's flashed back up again. That's okay. Yet again, we got to look at that particular structure. And we've got to say ourselves it's very similar to the one we were looking at on the dollar, in that it looks like it wants to break out, but it's entirely possible that this structure isn't over. So you may get another bite at the cherry if you didn't get in there. And if you are in there, you know, it's up to your trading strategy. You either put your stop to zero in case it comes back down again, or leave it off and put it down there somewhere, depending on your leverage and how much you're prepared to risk. And if it drops again, when it starts to go, buy in again, guys. Let's just clear this up a little bit. But if you're in that, get your stop to zero and see if it breaks out up there, guys. We'll just move that across there. Pound New Zealand. No big movements there. We were looking for a correction, maybe to give us a setup. The fact that that's an impulse and that's a little flat correction, wouldn't be surprised if we got another one down into there, and then you'd look to try and trade that up. It is possible that it goes from there, but given that little structure, yet again, let me just clear that. Anyone that's been with me a long time will know what I'm talking about. If you're new and you don't know what I'm talking about here, guys, you got to persevere, and it'll come to you. That's an impulse. We're looking for a zigzag. In other words, we could get another move down there of a similar degree of magnitude as that, and then that could be the place where this starts to go long again. If you look at this, now this was in a downtrend. We're thinking we're on an uptrend here because of the fundamentals. But if you look at that, how it dropped out of it, it could easily drop out of there before doing that, guys. Pound Swiss, there's that pullback again. Now, is that it done? I've noticed, I'll be looking at Bloomberg later, guys. I've noticed on the markets at the minute, things are pretty steady. So I can't see any big drop on the markets today again. So maybe this starts to recover and take off in that direction. Pound euro. And by the way, the dollar, once it's done its bit, will be a better bet than the pound. Just let that settle, those little drawdowns. Oh, sorry, that was the right direction. It's about looking for the setup and getting involved, guys. We had a setup there. Just recapping here. Wasn't as keen on that one, but this one, we had a setup there. I think we had a setup for the euro. So these are the trades really you should have been getting involved in. I've got a little bit carried away looking at the pound over the last few days. Look at that pullback there. Swiss yen. We're looking for this to break out, guys. So we'll keep an eye on the gold price, because the gold price starts to push up, then you'll see the Swiss starting to break out of there. Just move it down a bit. Reset that. CAD Swiss. Thank goodness I didn't get into that yesterday. So what I would do here, as you know, I do like trading this pair, although I haven't traded it for quite a while, but I had a good run at it for a lot of months. I would have to see this starting to come up, breaking that, setting that alarm off, and then we'll look and see if we can trade it up in that direction. There's two things happening at the minute. Number one is commodity prices dropped yesterday, and maybe a little bit of a move, not necessarily out of stock, out of commodities into the CAD or into the Swiss in the end, folks. That might be where that boost comes from, because there doesn't seem to be a big move out of stock. Some sectors, I think banking took a bit of a battering yesterday, and mining took a battering because the commodity prices are dropping. And then growth stock got battered. Established companies like your Amazons and your Googles and Facebook and whatever didn't get battered yesterday, but your growth stocks did, guys. And I have quite a bit of a few growth stocks still in the account, which will come good again, but I might have to hang on to them for a while now, guys. Roco's one that I only got involved in at the start of the month, and I've been battered by it. Peloton, one that I, for the whole of last year when it was going up, I just said this is rubbish, it's nonsense, it's too easily replicated. And then when it dropped, I decided to get into it. And I've been battered by it. PE is far too high, too easy to compete. Then there was the whole debacle about the treadmills where I think children were getting caught onto them. I think a child might even have died. And then other companies just come along and copy it, do the same thing, do a lot of advertising. And also Peloton had to cut the price of their equipment, and that's not a good sign. New Zealand yen, yeah, we've had to pull back. I still think this will move in that direction. Don't be jumping into it yet, guys. Allow it to start to come up, and then we'll look. New Zealand CAD, that looks like a lovely little setup, guys. But whether it'll go anywhere or not's another thing. The trade was back down here as it broke out. Didn't really get a setup on a higher time scale. There was a setup in there, maybe on a 15-minute time scale or something. So anyone that trades at that level would have done all right. Just clean this up a little bit, guys. Let's just take that and put it across here. It's kind of running flat, isn't it, guys? And then that becomes difficult to predict, particularly if it is a range and it's in the middle. Well, it can either do that or it can do that. So I wouldn't trade that, guys. New Zealand Swiss, also a bit of a pullback. But yet again, maybe looking for an impulse back up into there at least. And whatever that target is. Okay, guys, that'll do for the day. Just my thoughts on how I see the charts. Speak to you all again on Monday. Bye for now.